Hello everybody and welcome to episode 10 of the Nisekoi Volume Reviews. Today we'll be tackling volumes 20 and 21 I should say, which includes chapters 171 to 188 of the serialized manga. Of course, I'm Corbin here, but I'm not alone. We have Jaden.
Yep, I'm here in this freezing weather, but we'll get through this.
Yes, if you haven't figured out, we record these in a school parking lot. And this morning we have a lovely opportunity to record, and, well, it's still freezing out. All right. So we're recording in this, but you know what? It's all about the content, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Can't stop the press, man.
Nope. So, again, today we just want to talk about Nanashi's Komi's work, Nisekoi, going through all of the chapters that are included in the volumes and giving our thoughts on them as we see fit. So, starting off with last time, Raku got abducted by Marika and taken to an island.
Yes.
This series just gets crazier from here on out. Let me say that much.
Oh yeah, it does. It really jumps the shark in these volumes.
So, in chapter 171, and last time, Marika ran off into the woods because she obviously wasn't doing too well health-wise, and, we learn in this chapter that she actually fainted, and Raku went to, pick her up and lay her out and to make sure that she is okay. Or my note's blowing away in the wind. So pretty much what ends up happening is Raku and Tachibana talk a little bit, and she's like, oh man, I really wanted to see the sunrise, and she's starting to sort of get sad about it, and Raku's like, you know what, screw it. We'll go to the sunrise, and Raku takes Marika, and eventually she falls asleep, and they end up being the first in the world to see the sunrise for the new year, right? Really good way to end the arc, and then there's a whole thing where Honda ends up finding the two of them, and they get back to Japan and all of the regular stuff, right?
Yep.
I think this is a very good Marika arc, being that as we'll get here, this is the second to last Marika arc that we have in the series.
I mean, it is borderline criminal, to abduct somebody, but it was nice. I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's a very good arc. Now, 172 is the next one of the New Year's Shrine Wishes chapters, right? All of the girls and Raku go to the New Year's Shrine. This includes Paula and all of the first years, like Haru and Fu, and of course everybody but Marika, being that Marika is very sickly after abducting somebody and taking them to an island in the middle of nowhere, right? So pretty much there's a whole thing about New Year's, what all the girls are going to wish for, and everybody sort of just going through and doing their thing, right? Eventually, Chitoge and Kosaki end up talking to each other, and in this, they ask each other, like, how everything's going with their own crushes, and that they should both are going to wish to get courage to ask that person out in this year. Who could that be? But this time, Raku comes by and calls them all to wish, right? Yep. And they all wish for things, and just for each something on their own, right?
Yep, I mean,
very funny thing.
It's a typical New Year's chapter. I mean,
yeah, and then there's a really nice panel where all of the characters are just lined up and they're like, and we just want to wish for a good new year.
Yep. Right?
And it's a good chapter, right? 173. All of the girls get drunk off of stuff again. 174. Right? These chapters where all the girls get drunk are sort of, they're probably one of my least favorite type of chapters.
Yeah,
right. They're funny, but it's just the same joke every time at the same time.
And the problem is though is that there's no development or anything. It's a gag and then it's over and they forget it all happened.
It's not like a Tsugumi find something chapter, right? Those have some meaning for the characters in them, while these just are sort of there as a joke chapter for Shu to be like, Raku, you don't understand. You must run, right? It's something that I don't really enjoy too much, right? 174, we have Chitoge and Raku's first date of the year, right? And pretty much what Chitoge wants to do is she wants to take Raku out to stuff that he would normally like, right? Since Raku normally comes up with the itinerary for them to do stuff, right? So they go to the movies, they go fishing, they go eat at a soba noodle place, right? Stuff that Chitoge normally wouldn't like to do, right? And after time, after they do all of this, and Raku and Chitoge have like a heart-to-heart moment as they're like, well, thanks for taking me to all these places, but if we're going to do something, I want you to have fun too.
Yep.
Right? Very nice heart-to-heart moment, right? What ends up happening is Chitoge asks Raku, hey, do you have a crush on anybody? And Raku's like, no, what do you mean? Definitely not, right? And he asks the same thing to Chitoge, and Chitoge's like, you know what? There actually is.
Yep.
And that's the end of the chapter.
Final, it's only took 200, almost 200 chapters for her not to deny her feelings anymore,
About 174 chapters. Not quite 200, but... see, close, that'd be like chapter 180 I would give you for that, right?
So, this drawing here, does this have to correlate with this chapter?
This is the next chapter.
Okay.
As you know, I draw things on the margins. I will include all of these in the video. You'll just see them on the screen. Whenever we open up, I'll make sure to get them in there. But this correlates with chapter 175. Raku has... This is the first time in these two volumes Raku has a... What the fuck moment, right?
Okay.
Raku's got this moment, and he's like, why am I so upset that she says she has a crush, right? And he sort of talks with Shu about this, and Shu's like, you, my friend, are very stupid, right? But Raku's just like, why am I so, aggravated about it? What does this mean, right? What does this all have to do with everything? And eventually, he talks with Chitoge later, and he ends up doing what I depicted in the drawing. For the first time ever, he runs away with, the spinny wheels-looking body thing.
Oh, so that's what that is?
Yes.
I thought it was falling into a black hole. All right.
Can you see it now, though?
Yeah, you guys will see on the screen as well.
Yeah, so pretty much, Rocky's like, but why am I thinking of this? As he gets home, and the entire Shuhegumi house is all decorated up, right? And we learned that tomorrow is Yui's birthday, her 20th birthday.
Awesome. And if you didn't know, in Japan, 20 is a coming of age. It's when you're considered an adult.
It's sort of like how here in the States, 18 is that moment where you are an adult.
Or 21, depending, because, you can't have consistent laws.
Well,
anyways.
Well, 21's where you can do alcohols. You can buy cigarettes at any time.
Yeah.
Right? So 176, it is officially Yui's birthday, right? She invited all of the girls from school to come, right? And, of course, Rock is there helping out everything, right? Pretty much, Chitoge's there, and she's like, I just feel uncomfortable with Yui after she said all the things to me about being rivals and Raku's love and all of that, right? And eventually, she's just eating this monster cake, right? I should also mention, all of the high-ranking Chinese mafia boss leaders are here at this, since Yui is, the head of it, right? Yep. But Chitoge's just eating this cake, and eventually capsizes on her and Yui, and both of them end up taking a bath together, right? And they talk a little bit, and it's a very sort of nice moment in a way, right? All thoughts on Yui aside.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty much what happens after this is this entire time after the island, Raku's been very concerned about Marika being that, he sort of understands her in a different way now, right? And he just wants to make sure that she's safe after Honda, for instance, told him that she doesn't have much time left, right?
Because is this the first time that Raku figured out that Tachibana is sick with something?
No, he's known since she's always been sickly, but
you're right,
it's just that she's gotten much worse, it seems, right? Which will come up later, if you would believe me, right? So pretty much Raku and Marika meet up, right? And as Raku is gotta go do something, Marika is left on her own, and she goes by and almost meets up with Yui, but instead Knight comes in and stops Yui and tells Yui that she has a marriage proposal, right? That she can't refuse.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
So, in hindsight, I know what they mean by she doesn't have much time left. But at the time of reading that, I'm like, man.
Oh, with Marika?
Yeah, I'm like, man, they're gonna make some emo turn. And she's gonna die. I genuinely thought that she would die in one of these volumes.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. We're in the Yui arc right now.
Right.
We gotta finish up with Yui's arc, then we can.
Okay.
Then we've got pretty much an entire back of my notes page about Tachibana.
Okay.
Right. At this point, Marika hears what just got said to Yui by Knight, and Marika's just like, huh, right? Next day at school, Yui's just messing up everything, just being a klutz, right? Asking students who aren't even into class to do things, right? She's just very out of it, right? And after all of the class leaves, everybody's like, why is she so weird today, right? But Marika comes in, and she switches to her Mari persona, pretty much. Her old Kyushu accent going off, right? And she pretty much goes and yells, and she's like, damn it, I heard what Knight said to you. Why can you just not be open about your damn feelings? Right? And it's pretty much Marika just telling Yui, just Just face it already. You've got to say this crap. Go ahead and do it. Be like me. That's why I always have hated you, because you're not open enough with yourself. Right? And there's the big moment there, and Yui sort of understands this, and she goes home and she sees Raku, and Raku's like, hey, how you doing? And this is when Yui says, hey, I want to tell you something. I've always loved you, and not as a brother. Dun 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 dun.
We got the Alabama going on here, man.
Jaden, gosh.
That's the only way I can see it, because Raku literally sees Yui as like an older sister type figure. Yeah,
and that's the one thing with this. Like, I'll go back to We Never Learn again. There's the sister character in that series, but it's always brought to be a joke. It's never brought up to be something serious like this series. Like I said, with Nisekoi, Yui is my biggest problem, and I think is everybody's biggest problem with the series, looking back in hindsight.
Yeah,
right?
She's one of the worst characters.
Like, I didn't like her. Like, I like her message, right? I think stuff where, like, when she overworked herself, it's a good message all in all, right? The reason she came to see Raku, because she was the only living family, right? But you don't need how this is done out, right? 178. This is the next of Raku's what the fuck moments, right? And this is where the other two, or where the third picture comes in with all of this, right? Sort of looks like a manga panel with, in all honesty, what I can only see is Deku from My Hero Academia, right? But pretty much Raku's just like, wait, what? What does this mean, right? As he's thinking like, what do you mean? I like Onodera, but in his mind, we see that he thinks of Chitoge and not Onodera, right? And he's like, what does this mean, right? And Yui's just like, I just wanted to tell you, we can talk later about it. She goes to do her own thing, and Raku's just like, what in the world, right? What does this all mean? Why did I think of Onodera's face, or why did I think of Chitoge when I was thinking of Onodera? What did Yui just say to me? What does all of this mean, right? And he thinks back to what Shu was telling him earlier of, hey man, which one do you like more, right? And he starts thinking about this, right? And we cut now to whenever Raku approaches Yui again, and Raku's just like, hey, I've always thought of you as a sister, never as like anything else. And Yui's like, I understand. And she's like, I just feel like I needed to say this and all of that, right? And then we cut to the night, and we see that Yui sneaks back into Raku's room, right? And what she ends up doing is pretty much coming in line with Raku and talking to him like, the reason I've sort of loved you in this way was something that happened when we were little, and I feel like now I can finally push past all of that and to understand what it actually means now, right? And as pretty much what we learn is that when they were younger, they ended up falling, and a towel got between their faces and they kissed, right?
Okay.
So what ends up happening is the last drawing that you will see in this episode, right? Pretty much what ends up happening is Raku's just laying on the ground as Yui grabs the bedsheet, throws it over Raku's face, and kisses him through it, right? And I just find it funny, right? As much of a good moment as this is, because it's not, right? My favorite part is just how Raku's just laying on the ground with his two arms just up in the sky, like the matriarch of Jesus Christ, as Yui's just on top of him. Oh, jeez.
My favorite part is now her character arc's over.
It is. You're right. And so she kisses him and she leaves, right? 179, the last chapter of this volume. Yui leaves and Raku's very sad, and he's like, Yui, don't leave, please. Like, you're important to me, right? And as he's sad, and the next morning, Yui's at school, right? And Raku's like, what? And pretty much what ends up happening is we learn that Yui just got a hotel because she needs to move past everything, right? And she asks Raku once again, at this point, who do you care for the most, right? And Raku doesn't have an answer, but she does tell him that she was not the promised girl, right? Thank God.
Thank God. I was about to say the exact same thing.
Right? And pretty much a bit later, Yui talks with Chitoge about all of this, and she says, you know what? I'm going to root for you. I think you're the one who should win this race of... you should win the space race for Raku's love. Okay. Right?
That's what we should name this episode.
The space race for Raku's love.
Alright.
So who would be Russia and who would be the Americas in this situation? Because technically, if we think about it, Russia did get to space first. So that'd be Chitoge, since she's technically dating Raku first.
Sure, we'll go with that.
So-
Blonde hair, Russian genes. I see the connection.
So that means Chitoge is American.
Sure.
Or no, Onodera is American.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right, sure. Space race for Raku's love, great. So pretty much after this, what's her name? Chitoge's like, Yui, please take my contact information. I want to get to know you more, right? And all of this, and pretty much we come back. Night comes back up to Yui, and she's like, hey, that marriage proposal crap, that was all fake. I just wanted you to get stuff out there so we could be done with all of this bullcrap. I just need you to get out the story at this point. I mean, we're sort of wrapping everything up, right? And Yui's like, all right, just give me time to find somebody who I actually love. And Knight's like, sure.
Yeah. So
this is the Yui arc. This is Yui's finale, right? She got introduced in volume 12, or not 12, 14, and got out about 6 volumes later.
I can
Nisekoi is great again.
I can say, if nothing else, her only redeeming factor is that she was a minor character. She did not play too big of a role throughout these volumes.
I think she has good moments again, but overall, it's just, I'm not a fan of her character.
Well, on to the best girl, huh?
Alrighty, so volume 21, we start out with pretty much Marika is in really bad shape, right? And we also learned that it is Valentine's Day, right? And in this, we also learned it's been about a month since Yui confessed to Raku and everything with Yui went on, right?
I've noticed that in these later volumes, time is going by a lot quicker.
Yeah. But I also think that it would feel really weird in the story if we had a bunch of gag chapters in between these arcs that mean a bunch of important stuff for the series as a whole, right? So pretty much Marika's in bad shape. All of the girls give Raku chocolate, right? And Raku's again worried about Marika because this isn't like her, right? She'd be at school giving Raku giving Raku a very important like chocolate thing, right? So her and Chitoge, or Raku and Chitoge, go outside, and Marika's out there, right? So Chitoge, Marika, and Raku all go on a walk, right? Pretty much what ends up happening is, not Chitoge's mom, Marika's mom ends up calling her. Her name is Chika Tachibana in her phone, right? Yep. Not even mom, just...
and Tachibana gets one of the best disgusted faces in the entire manga so far.
Yep, and Raku's like, oh, who's that? You need to take a call, we'll be silent. And she's like, nope, and she like chucks her phone off into the woods somewhere, right? And we learn that that is her mom, and Chitoge's like, hey, I mean, I made up my mom, you can make up with yours, right? And Marika's like, no. Right? Chitoge ended up losing her school bag, and so she runs off to find it, right? And at this point, Marika says, hey, Raku, can you have a little chat? And she's like, so what do you think of me? And at this point, she lays out everything. She knows, I know you have a crush on Onodera. I know that you and Chitoge have a false relationship, right? Can I just please have an answer about what you think about me, right? And as Raku is getting ready to say something, we get chapter 181.
Okay.
Right? At this point, Mark is just like, please, I will always be there for you. No matter what, you were the one I love, right? And it's a very, very good moment for her, right? And Raku is in his inner thoughts, right? As Marika just faints on the ground, right? Honda comes up and she's like, all right, this has gone too far. Have a good life, Ichigo. Not Ichigo, Ichijo, yeah. Right? Ichigo's from Bleach. It's going to be my cosplay this year.
Okay.
I don't know why I had to mention that.
Alright.
Who is Tachibana in the space race for Raku's love? Who else was really involved in the space race?
She's like
Cuba. She's Cuba.
Okay.
She's Cuba. This is just a great headcanon of, alright, Chitoge is Russia, Tachibana's Cuba, Onodera's the States. So what does that mean Yui was? Somebody who just dropped out early? Just
China, I guess.
China in space race?
I think so.
I don't know. Who's the last girl? Oh, Tsugumi. Who's Tsugumi? So pretty much, who helped Russia out a lot in the space race?
She's like the Russian Secret Service, whatever they were called.
The KBG?
Yeah, exactly. All right, she's the KBG leader.
Cold War, I know all about it.
All
right. Pretty much, Honda's like, hey, we won't meet again. Just forget all about this, right? Next day, we learned that Marika has changed schools, right? And everybody just is like, hey, we need to get Marika back, right? And there's a whole thing where everybody's like, hey, we need to get her back. She's one of our friends no matter what. So they're going to go to Marika's ancestral home to go help her, right? And then they get on a phone call, right? Chapter 182, we learned who they were on a phone call with was Mikage. Mikage was Marika's bully that had the entire arc in like the 80s or something, right? Did you remember a whole lot about Mikage?
Nope. I forgot she even existed by the time she came back up.
Do you think this is a good way to bring her back into the story?
I guess.
Because yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
It works, right? Pretty much we learn all of Tachibana's backstory, right? Do you want to explain all of her backstory, Jaden?
What is there to explain? Like how she's basically required to get into a forced marriage and has to choose Raku before her time's up?
Exactly. So pretty much...
wow, I was on the money.
Yeah, so pretty much Marika and her mother made a deal that she could go to school and meet Raku and do all of this sort of stuff. We learned that Marika's dad is on Marika's side of choosing who she wants to marry.
And this is all because in Marika's family, it's a matriarchal like hierarchy.
Yeah.
And so the female of each generation basically is forced. Their marriage is chosen for them.
Yeah, and all of them are so very sickly. Like they're not in good health whatsoever.
They have the Demon Slayer curse. You know.
Congratulations. So pretty much there's a bunch of this stuff, and Raku's like, well, how can we help then, right? Chitoge punches Raku and's like, we don't care, let's go, right? Yui comes up the stairs like, I heard everything, right? We're gonna go help him, right? And at this point, they're pretty much, all right, Autobots, roll out as they all go too.
Okay.
That's literally what I have written on my paper, right? As they all go to help Marika, right? Next chapter, we see Mikage is just like, wow, Marika, you had some good pals, right? As we also see that she says, well, I'm sorry to tell you, I never told you the most important part of all of this, right? Dun 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 dun. Right, at this point, pretty much Marika talks with her mom, she tries to run away, right? And then we see that she gets tied up by Honda. Mikage infiltrates everybody on the inside, talks with Marika, and is just like, hey, was school fun, right? Did you have a good time with all of your friends, right? And they have some sad talk as we end the chapter on Chitoge yelling out to Marika, hey, you there? Right?
Spelled incorrectly on your notes.
I'm sorry. I tried to write these notes as fast as I could.
All right.
I know it's T-H-E-R-E, but I put T-H-E-I-R.
All right.
I'm sorry.
You might want to put that in the video as well.
No, God, why are you making me edit so much? I already don't know how to edit. If you've watched these videos, you understand why.
All right.
I've got my stock background. I put up the volumes on it. I put my most effort into the thumbnails because that's what people click. To be honest, it should be a podcast, but to be honest, I hate putting up podcasts.
All right.
YouTube's just easier.
Okay.
184, Marika just is like there with Mikage, and she's like, why did you call them all here? And she's like, hey, you just have some good friends, right? And she's like, I just want you to be happy, right? Pretty much everybody goes outside, and Mikage meets the whole group outside, right? They split off into two groups, the ones who are sort of combat-oriented and the ones that aren't combat-oriented. Mm-hmm. The combat people go underground and eventually meet up with Honda. We learned that Honda is a fabled ninja, right? We learned that
she's like part of a shinobi clan.
Yeah, something like that, right? And we have her and Tsugumi fight, right?
All right.
185.
So when's the fight scene start in this one?
185 is when the fight scene starts.
I want to be honest with you. Romance authors have no business writing fight scenes because the art for the fight scene this time was not that good. It's just hard to follow. And I'm pretty sure it's because, obviously, an author might be not used to writing.
I am pretty sure Nanashi Komi has written like a full-length battle series before. Don't quote me on that.
Well, it might be him coming back for one, you know?
I think she actually wrote one and put it up into like the Jump Giga issue of like summer or something.
Alright.
Right? I almost bought it just because I sort of wanted to see it, right? Long story short, 185, Tsugumi and Honda fight. I'm not really going to go into it. Honda uses a combat train and Tsugumi uses a pistol. Yep. Right? And pretty much at the end of the chapter, Tsugumi learns what all of this means, right? Why Tachibana and what that most important thing was, right? 186, Raku and Chitoge are on the run after Tsugumi helped them through, right? Pretty much there's a whole mob chasing him, right? So what ends up happening is Chitoge grabs Raku by the hair and just throws him up.
Yep.
So he can get to safety, right? She ends up getting caught. But at this point, Raku meets Chika Tachibana, Marika's mom, right? They have a moment where they talk, and Raku's like, hey, can you just please call this off, right? And we pretty much get a moment where Chika's just like, why should they be happy? This doesn't matter anything at all. I didn't get this stuff, so why should she?
Yeah.
Right?
And Chika's a very stern, she's staying in her ways type of character.
Yeah, and there's a very, thing about this, and Raku's like, I tried to talk, what is it about this, right? And at this point, we see that Marika has escaped her room, right? Only to find Honda standing outside the door of it, right?
Yep.
187, we get all of the girls are in the dungeon, right? They're all in the dungeon below. We see that Tsugumi and Chitoge were caught, right? And Tsugumi's just like, what does this mean? Because since she just learned about the whole thing with Marika, right? We see Raku's in a cell, and who else would be in his cell but Marika's own father, the chief of police, right? And her father's just like, I tried everything I could, but to be honest, at this point, I can't really do anything to change your mind. I still love my wife. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's just like, I try as much as I can, right? And pretty much what ends up happening is the key comes by with Mikage, right? All of them get out, right? And Raku's like, hey, I'm sorry, Marika's dad, but I may cause a bunch of problems for everything. And at this point, Marika's dad's just like, you know what? Cause as much as you want. I'll do damage control. And he also makes a note of, hey, I know, I'm sorry, Jaden, I understand we're running low on time.
All right, we'll cut this out.
Will we? No, this is staying in, goddammit. This is another Space Race joke.
Okay.
Right? And at this point, Marika's dad is like, you really look like your father at this age, right? Whole thing there, and they're the wedding killers who go to end up the wedding, right? 188, the whole group breaks out by force, and they're going up. We see that Ruri and Onodera are stationed as an inside job for this. Everybody learns to plan, right? Mikage and Tsugumi have a talk, right? And as we see Marika's getting ready for the wedding, she gets asked if she wants to wear her hair clip, and we understand the importance of the hair clip is that this is one of the things that gave her strength whenever Raku did all of this, right? Something I just remembered I didn't even mention in all of this is why Marika loves Raku so much.
Yeah.
It's literally based on the fact that she made him, or he made her, a better person in the long run, right?
Yeah.
He changed her, right? And this is the hair clip that just was given to her that symbolizes all of that in a way.
He helped her, stop being cynical about this disease she had and live life to the fullest.
Exactly.
Which is kind of different from Chika, because Chika is she has the disease and she really doesn't do anything about it. She kind of just accepts it. Whereas Marika works her
And
ass
we
off.
also learn, whenever Raku's talking to Marika's dad, everything that goes on with this, and it's just wow, this is very emotional. And we learned that, Chika tried to run away from this fate too, but she ended up getting caught. And while she, in a way, she wants Marika to be able to do her thing, it's just not how it works.
Yep.
And that's really where these volumes end. I mean, we're getting Marika's send-off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is. I mean, it's no clue about it, right? What do you think of these volumes?
Now, okay, I read ahead a little bit, but Marika's best girl.
Okay, well, just try to keep it to this volume.
And in this volume, and I would say Onodera is still on top. But I think that Marika has a really good backstory.
I think this does a lot for Marika's character,
And
definitely.
she's so freaking dedicated, you feel bad for her.
You do.
But, I think it's really good. I still think that Chitoge, honestly, is not a super good main heroine character.
Well, I know I haven't said a lot, but my girl ranking is, it's Tsugumi. I'm just a fan of Tsugumi, right?
Okay.
I really like her. And then it's Chitoge, then it's Tachibana, and then it's Onodera, and then Haru, then the person that came from the place along Fantasyland, the other continent. Then we got Ruri, then we got Shu, because you gotta have a gay couple in there.
Okay. Anyways, my ranking currently is Onodera. Onodera is the best. She's wholesome. She's nice. Raku likes her. She likes Raku. It's been this way for years. Come on. It's just a waiting game at this point. Tachibana, because, her dedication.
Well, this isn't how the goddamn space race works. You've got to realize this at some point, Jaden. We've already understood the space race. Chitoge is in the lead by far.
Okay.
That's how the space race works.
Alright. Then I'd put Chitoge below Onodera. And then I'd do Haru, because I really like Haru. I think she's a good character.
Alright, well, what do you think of these volumes? Just so we can end it off here.
Hold on, I'm all done with my girl ranking.
Okay.
We got Sugumi. I think she's fine. And then every other character, and then Yui.
So you put Mushala above Yui?
Sure. But these volumes, overall, I think they're pretty good. They're really developing the story, which is what I like.
They are really developing Marika and throwing Yui out of the story.
Yep. These volumes serve a purpose very much to move along the story.
Yeah.
And again...
at this point, we only have 4 volumes left until the series is concluded.
Yeah. And between these 18 chapters, there's only maybe 1 or 2 gag chapters.
There's only one, and I think that's the drunk chapter, right?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I think, I guess you can also say, the first State of the Year chapter, but that has, a meaning to it, where Chitoge is yeah, I love somebody, right? And I think it's a very good story altogether.
So, overall, these volumes, I would give them a solid 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10.
Which, honestly, has probably been my ranking, this entire time. I think these volumes are good.
Besides for, the volume where Yui was introduced, that got a nice 4 out of 10 or 5.
Yeah. But everything's been hovering around the 7 or 8 range, which, again, if you know me very well, that's pretty damn high. So, 9s and 10s for me are pretty hard to achieve. But overall, it's pretty good. These next volumes, though, are even better.
Yeah. Volume 23 is the peak of the series. I don't care what you say. Right? But,
I can see that, yeah.
For me, at least.
All right.
But that's really going to be everything. Again, these are chapters 171 to 188, volumes 20 and 21. And again, I'm Corbin, here with Jaden. And we'll be back next time to talk about Nisekoi volumes 22 and 23.
All right, see you guys.
It's Glowplasma 231 out.